Revelations ending explained. What happened to A-yeong? Netflix recently added the South Korean thriller, Revelations, to their catalog, which poses several burning questions about morality and crime, but with the most important being what happened to A-yeong. Directed by Train to Busan's Yoon Sang-ho, Revelations follows the threads of three unique characters: an overzealous pastor, a traumatized detective, and a misunderstood criminal. When a young girl goes missing, all three figures are thrown together in a twisted web of secrets, violence, and, of course, revelations. The Korean thriller begins with Min Chan, a passionate pastor who welcomes the hardened criminal Yang Rae into his congregation. However, when Min Chan discovers that his child might be missing, he immediately suspects Yang Rae and attempts to hunt him down, leading to Yang Rae's disappearance. The following day, it is revealed that Min Chan's son was found, but another child has actually been kidnapped. Detective Yeon-hee investigates, troubled by the case of Yang Rae because he was behind the death of her sister. From there, Yeon-hee gets closer to discovering Min Chan and Yang Rae's roles in A-yeong's disappearance. Revelation's biggest mystery is what happened to A-yeong. The 12-year-old girl, A-yeong, first appears in the film as she is walking to church, followed by Yang Rae. After the service, she seems to walk home with her friends, yet the next time she is mentioned, it is revealed that she has been kidnapped. Considering Yang Rae's pursuit of her, it is clear that he is the culprit. It isn't until the end of the movie that audiences see A-yeong is being held captive in a house set to be demolished. Fortunately, just before the house is wrecked, Yeon-hee saves A-yeong. Despite the fact that A-yeong's disappearance is the linchpin tying Min Chan, Yeon-hee, and Yang Rae together, she is more of a symbolic character than an actual protagonist. A-yeong's kidnapping is less about A-yeong herself, and is more about how it affects the other characters. The most important effect A-yeong's situation has is that it symbolizes what happened to Yeon-hee's sister. Yeon-hee blames herself for not being able to save her sister, so when she saves A-yeong, she is finally able to forgive herself for the past. One of the most complicated elements of Revelations is how Min Chan becomes involved with Yang Rae. Initially, Min Chan wants to help Yang Rae as a member of the church. However, Min Chan's good will quickly turns when he suspects Yang Rae of kidnapping his son. Min Chan follows Yang Rae into the woods and gets into an altercation with him, leading Yang Rae to fall down a ravine and sustain a serious injury. Min Chan is terrified, but ultimately decides to push Yang Rae off a cliff. Min Chan seems to do this after seeing a sign from God. Min Chan's son ends up being at a friend's house, not kidnapped. Ultimately, this is the most important part of Min Chan's story. After seeing a symbol on the side of a mountain, Min Chan believes that he must kill Yang Rae because it is God's will. His thought process is that he is ridding the world of a sinner. Therefore, when Yang Rae ends up surviving and returning, Min Chan is determined to kill him. This is further complicated by the fact that Yang Rae is the only one who knows where A-yeong is, so once Min Chan kills him, the police have less of a chance to find A-yeong alive. At the same time as Min Chan is dealing with Yang Rae, Yeon-hee is trying to figure out how these two men are connected to A-yeong's kidnapping. Throughout this investigation, Yeon-hee is haunted by her own demons, specifically in the form of her sister's ghost. 5 years prior, Yeon-hee's sister was kidnapped and tortured by Yang Rae. She managed to escape, but eventually took her own life. Yeon-hee believes it is her fault for not saving her sister. Thus, her sister's ghost constantly yells at her, demanding to know why she wasn't there when she needed her most. Yeon-hee's growth in Revelations may be one of the greatest parts of the movie. Yeon-hee is clearly agonized by her sister's death and the reappearance of Yang Rae. However, as she gets further into A-yeong's case, she realizes that Yang Rae is just as human as her sister was, and deserves more empathy. As a result, Yeon-hee attempts to learn more about Yang Rae, which helps her figure out where A-yeong is being held. Plus, she comes to terms with the fact that her sister's death is not on her hands, but was something out of her control. In the first half of Revelations, Yang Rei is characterized as an evil human being. He is a known criminal who tortured Yeon-hee's sister and kidnapped A-yeong. Yet, at the climax of the film, it is revealed that Yang Rei suffered from a traumatic childhood, which is what led him to these horrific behaviors. Yang Rei's psychologist explains that Yang Rei was beaten by his father every day, leaving him with countless burns and scars. While these beatings were taking place, his mother would stand outside the door, singing hymns and praying for him. This left a harsh mental impact on Yang Rei. There is no doubt that Yang Rei acted in an evil manner when he committed his crimes, yet the movie suggests that Yang Rei was not necessarily in a sound state of mind. The moral quandary that Revelations grapples with is whether Yang Rei can be forgiven or not. There is no doubt that Yang Rei acted in an evil manner when he committed his crimes, yet the movie suggests that Yang Rei was not necessarily in a sound state of mind. Because of his childhood trauma, Yang Rei may deserve as much sympathy as his victims. Yeon-hee seems to forgive him, while Min-chan is convinced of his sin. Thus, viewers are compelled to make their own judgments about Yang Rei. At the center of Yang Rei's tragic backstory is the one-eyed monster. When the authorities first visit Yang Rei's apartment, they find a terrifying drawing of this supposed one-eyed monster, which seems to hold various people inside of it. At first, it is assumed that Yang Rei is crazy. However, when he tells Yeon-hee just before he falls to his death that A-yeong has been swallowed by the one-eyed monster, she goes on a quest to figure out what that means. Eventually, she realizes that the monster represents houses with a single fisheye window. Although the one-eyed monster is a physical place and not an actual monster like trained to Busan zombies, it does have a symbolic meaning for Yang Rei. In his youth, Yang Rei was abused in a room with a single window, and the trauma of that transformed a regular housing element into a true monster. Yang Rei truly believed that this monster was a danger to him, and perhaps he felt that he had to offer it up more violence to keep it at bay, which is why he committed his crimes. In Revelations, Yeon-hee and the police eventually figure out that Min-chan had attempted to kill Yang Rei. Thus, he is sent to prison for his crimes, despite his protestations that God influenced him. Later, Yang Rei's psychiatrist explains to Yeon-hee that Min-chan was likely suffering from apophenia, a phenomenon in which people see patterns in things that do not actually exist. When Min-chan saw his signs from God, there was nothing actually there. This diagnosis is confirmed at the end of the film when Min-chan finds another sign in his prison cell. Revelations confirms that Min-chan is suffering from apophenia, yet audiences may wonder if this is a front for Min-chan's true evil. Perhaps Min-chan only developed apophenia as a way to allow himself to carry out violence. It was his excuse. This would make sense considering that Min-chan's wife was cheating on him, which likely left him with increased anger and stress. In this way, Min-chan's crimes may have been even worse than Yang Rei's. Ultimately, Revelations is a movie that is as thrilling as it is enlightening. Through the stories of Min-chan, Yang Rei, and Yeon-hee, viewers are forced to come to terms with their own beliefs about morality. They must decide whether someone who commits a crime is a truly evil person, or if something more complicated is happening within them. Furthermore, audiences see how trauma can impact a person's life to a dangerous extent. Ultimately, Revelations drives a wedge into the idea of pure good and pure evil.